Dear friends, I understand how difficult it is to lose loved ones. Each of us has gone through that pain, through moments of despair and endless longing. In such moments, we acutely feel the need to somehow maintain a connection with those who have departed, to catch a sign that they are still around us, that they hear our thoughts and feel our love. Today, I want to talk to you about how to understand what a loved one's soul is trying to communicate to us. I know that for many, this topic may seem too personal or even painful, but I receive numerous letters from people sharing their stories of inexplicable coincidences, signs, and sensations of the presence of departed relatives. Recently, I received a letter from Mary in Texas. She lost her husband 2 years ago after 50 years of marriage. In her letter, she recounted how one day, on a particularly difficult day, when the longing felt unbearable, she suddenly smelled her husband's cologne. This scent filled the entire room, even though the bottle had long been untouched. At that moment, Mary felt an unexplainable calmness and confidence that her beloved was still caring for her. I understand that many of you may have experienced similar feelings, but we're afraid to share them even with your close ones, fearing misunderstanding. Perhaps you attributed these signs to coincidences or products of your imagination. But let's talk about this openly and honestly today, without prejudice or fear of seeming overly sensitive. The connection between loved ones does not end with the death of the physical body. This is confirmed by thousands of stories from people of different cultures, beliefs, and backgrounds. And although science has yet to explain all these phenomena, psychologists acknowledge that the ability to feel the presence of departed loved ones is a normal part of the grieving and healing process. In our conversation today, we will explore the most common ways in which the souls of our loved ones try to connect with us, and we will learn to distinguish genuine signs from random coincidences. The main thing is to keep an open heart and trust your feelings, as it is through them that the most important messages from those on the other side of the physical world often come. Many of us wonder, why do we search so persistently for signs from our departed loved ones? This is a natural desire of the human soul to maintain a connection with those we love, regardless of physical barriers. Modern psychology recognizes that the search for such signs is not simply a manifestation of longing, but an important part of the healing process after a loss. Our brain is wonderfully designed. It is capable of picking up the subtlest signals that we may not always be able to explain logically. Scientists from the University of North Carolina conducted a study showing that there is a special form of energetic connection between close individuals. This connection is so strong that it can be maintained even after physical separation. John, a 70-year-old participant in the study, recounted how shortly before receiving news about health problems with his daughter, who lives in another state, he felt an inexplicable anxiety and the urge to call her. It is important to understand the difference between real signs and what our consciousness may create due to a strong desire to receive a message. Genuine messages from loved ones usually come unexpectedly, at moments when we least expect them. They leave a deep impression and often carry a special meaning that is understood only by us. Elizabeth from Florida shared a story about how, after her mother's passing, she began to notice unusual coincidences. On the day she was to make an important decision about moving, she found an old postcard from her mother with the advice to always follow the call of the heart. This discovery was not a coincidence. The postcard was in the most visible place in the desk drawer, even though Elizabeth was sure she had never stored it there. Science continues to study the phenomenon of connection between the living and the departed. Researchers note that the ability to receive such messages often intensifies during periods of emotional calm, when our consciousness is most open and receptive. This is why many people report starting to receive signs from loved ones not immediately after their departure, but after some time when the sharp pain of loss has somewhat subsided. Learn to trust your intuition, but maintain common sense. Not every coincidence is a message, but if you feel a deep inner certainty about the special significance of what is happening, it is worth paying attention to that feeling. In our daily lives, there are sometimes amazing coincidences that are difficult to explain as mere chance. Such signs often come through the most ordinary things and events that held special meaning for our departed loved ones. Jane from Arizona shared a touching story about how, after her husband's passing, rare blue butterflies began to appear in her garden. Her husband had collected photographs of these beautiful creatures throughout his life, but such butterflies were virtually non-existent in their area. Now they arrive every spring, as if sending a greeting from her beloved. When I see them fluttering among the flowers, I feel that Tom is nearby and still cares for our garden, Jane recounts. Many people notice the appearance of certain numbers or dates. For example, Robert from Pennsylvania constantly sees the number 23. It was the date of his wedding to his late wife. He encounters this number on receipts at the store, on license plates, and on pages of books he randomly opens. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but when it started happening at the most important moments of my life, I realized this is not chance, he shares. Amazing discoveries of sentimental items can also be a way for the souls of our loved ones to communicate with us. Patricia from Oregon shared how, on her mother's birthday, a year after her passing, she found an old brooch she thought was lost long ago. This brooch was her mother's favorite piece of jewelry, and she often mentioned that she wanted to pass it on to her daughter. The brooch was discovered in a box of Christmas decorations, even though Patricia distinctly remembered never having stored it there. Such coincidences often happen at times when we most need support or are facing an important choice. For example, Alice from Minnesota found an old letter from her father on the very day she was unsure whether she should change jobs. In the letter, her father wrote about the importance of following her dreams and not being afraid of change. Exactly the words she needed at that moment. These signs may seem insignificant to outsiders, but for those who receive them, they are filled with deep personal meaning and serve as a source of comfort and support. They remind us that the connection with our loved ones continues to live in our hearts, manifesting in the most unexpected ways. Dreams occupy a special place in the communication with departed loved ones. They create a remarkable space where our consciousness is most open to receiving subtle signals from the spirit world. But how can we distinguish an ordinary dream from a real message? There are specific signs that can help identify such prophetic dreams. Michael from Florida shared his story about encountering his mother in a dream. This dream was different from all the others. It was incredibly vivid, as if it were happening in real life. My mom looked healthy, young, and happy. She hugged me and said I shouldn't worry about selling the old house, a decision that had been troubling me for months. Upon waking, I felt an extraordinary lightness and confidence, and her embrace felt so real that I still felt the warmth. A characteristic feature of such dreams is their clarity and realism. In ordinary dreams, events often get confused. They can be swapped around and details are blurry. In message dreams, everything is extremely clear. Each detail is well remembered, and the emotional imprint lasts a long time. Dorothy from Michigan shares how, after her husband's passing, she saw him in her dreams several times. In these dreams, Jim was always calm and peaceful. He didn't talk about the past. He offered advice about the future, especially concerning our children. Each time, his words turned out to be remarkably accurate. It is important to note that in such dreams, departed loved ones often appear to convey a specific message or warning. Grace from Washington saw her grandmother in a dream a week before an important medical examination. Her grandmother urged her not to postpone the visit to the doctor, even though Grace was considering rescheduling the appointment. Later, it turned out that the early detection of an issue allowed for successful treatment of the illness. Unlike ordinary dreams, where the images may be distorted or frightening, in message dreams, departed loved ones appear in their best form, healthy, calm, radiating love and care. They often bring comfort and support, helping to find answers to important questions or make difficult decisions. After such dreams, people usually wake up with a sense of peace and renewed strength, as if they truly received help from a loving soul. Physical manifestations of the presence of the souls of loved ones can take many forms. Often, these are inexplicable sounds, familiar smells, or strange behavior of electrical appliances. In such moments, many feel that the boundary between our world and the world of souls becomes especially thin. Sarah from New Jersey shared an amazing story about how her father's favorite song unexpectedly played on the radio on his birthday. It was a rare composition from the 50s that is hardly ever played on air. Dad always played it on Sundays when he cooked breakfast for us. At that moment, The radio turned on by itself, even though I usually listened to another station at that time. I felt goosebumps run down my skin, and a faint aroma of his favorite coffee filled the air. Many people notice unusual phenomena related to electricity. Light bulbs may flicker for no apparent reason, televisions may turn on by themselves to a channel featuring the favorite show of a departed loved one, and phones may display strange combinations of numbers. Thomas from Maryland recounted how after his wife's passing, the table lamp that she always turned on for reading began to light up on its own, precisely at the time she usually read her favorite books. Scents often become a special way for the souls of loved ones to communicate. This can be the aroma of a favorite perfume, freshly baked goods, or even cigarettes, scents that were characteristic of a specific person in life. Martha from Iowa remembers how, on the day of her granddaughter's first communion, the entire church was filled with the fragrance of her mother's favorite flowers. White lilies, even though there were no flowers in the room. Sometimes messages come through animals. This often happens with birds or butterflies that appear in unusual places or exhibit strange behavior. Linda from Vermont describes how, after her husband passed away, a small bird began to come every morning and tap on the window of their bedroom, just as he used to wake her each morning with a gentle knock on the door with a cup of coffee. All these physical manifestations usually occur spontaneously and carry a special meaning that is understood only by close individuals. They may appear at important moments in life when we especially need support or are faced with difficult choices, as if reminding us that the love and care of our loved ones extend far beyond the physical world. The emotional connection with departed loved ones often manifests through special feelings and sensations that are difficult to describe in words, but leave a deep mark on the soul. These can include sudden waves of calm, an inexplicable feeling of presence, or even the sense of receiving guidance in a critical moment. Linda from South Carolina shared her experience. After my mom passed away, I often feel her presence when I'm cooking in the kitchen. One day, while trying to make her signature apple pie, I couldn't remember the right proportion of spices. Suddenly, I felt a gentle touch on my shoulder and some inner knowledge, as if my mom whispered the exact recipe in my ear. The pie turned out just the way she made it. Emotional signals often come during important life decisions. James from Minnesota shared how he felt his father's presence during a job interview. I was very nervous, but then I suddenly felt extraordinary calm and confidence. Exactly the feelings that arose in childhood when my dad supported me before important events. It gave me strength, and the interview went excellently. There are moments when, amidst the daily hustle, we suddenly feel an influx of inexplicable joy or peace. Anne from Oregon recalls, during the most difficult period after losing my husband, I was walking in the park, immersed in sad thoughts. Suddenly, I was enveloped by a feeling of warmth and love, as if he had hugged me. At that moment, I understood that he still cares about me, just in a different way. Many note that in critical moments, they receive some sort of inner guidance from their departed loved ones. This can be a sudden understanding of how to act in a difficult situation or a premonition warning of danger. Mary from Arizona recounted how one day, an inner voice, reminiscent of her grandmother's voice, persistently advised her to take a different road. Later, it turned out that a serious accident happened on her usual route. These emotional connections are particularly valuable because they bring not only comfort, but also practical help in life. They remind us that the wisdom and love of our loved ones continue to guide us, even when they are not physically present. Learning to distinguish real signs from random coincidences is an important skill for those who want to maintain an authentic connection with their departed loved ones. There are certain characteristics that help to understand whether it is truly a message or just a figment of the imagination. First of all, real signs always come spontaneously. Susan from Maine noted, "When I specifically tried to get a sign from my husband, nothing happened. But on ordinary days, when I was busy with daily tasks, amazing coincidences would occur. Once I accidentally turned on his old tape recorder and heard his laughter. Exactly at the moment, I was wondering if I was doing the right thing by selling our boat. The personal significance of a symbol is another important sign of a genuine message. True signs are often related to something that had special meaning for the departed person." Margaret from Wisconsin shares, "Mom adored cardinals and always said that these birds bring messages from angels. After she passed, a cardinal started coming to my windowsill every morning, especially on the days when I had to make an important decision. Clarity and lucidity of the message also distinguish a true sign. Unlike vague coincidences, genuine signals usually carry a specific meaning. David from Connecticut shared, "When my father appears in my dreams, his words are always clear and direct, without ambiguity. He gives concrete advice that turns out to be surprisingly accurate." It is important to pay attention to our emotions at the moment of receiving a sign. A genuine message typically evokes a deep sense of recognition and inner certainty. Rachel from Nevada describes it this way: "When I truly receive a sign from my sister, there's a special feeling inside, as if every cell in my body knows that it is her. It doesn't feel like ordinary excitement or a desire to see a sign." True messages often come at significant moments, but not necessarily on obvious dates like birthdays or anniversaries. They may appear during moments of doubt, in periods of important changes, or simply when we particularly need support, even if we may not fully realize it. To conclude our conversation, I want to remind you of the most important thing. The connection with loved ones does not end with their passing. It simply takes on a different form, becoming more subtle and deeper, requiring us to be more sensitive and attentive to the messages they convey to us. Do you remember the story of Eleonora from Texas? After her daughter's passing, she thought she would never feel joy again. But one day, at the most difficult moment, she saw a rainbow on a completely clear day. It was impossible according to all the laws of nature, but the rainbow appeared exactly where my daughter and I love to walk. At that moment, I realized she is still with me. It's just that our communication has become different, Eleonora shares. It is important to keep your heart open and trust your feelings. Don't be afraid of appearing too sensitive or impressionable. Your ability to notice subtle signs is a gift that helps maintain a connection with those who are infinitely dear to your heart. Treat this gift with care and gratitude. Remember that each person receives signs in their own way. For some, it may be vivid dreams. For others, unusual coincidences or sudden insights. Don't compare your experience to the experiences of others. Your connection with your loved ones is unique, just as your relationships were unique during their lives. If you feel that signs have started to appear less frequently or have completely disappeared, don't despair. This is a natural process that indicates you are gradually learning to live in a new reality. The souls of our loved ones know when we need their support and will always find a way to let us know about their presence during important moments. And most importantly, continue to live life to the fullest. Our departed loved ones want to see us happy, active, full of plans and hopes. They support us in our endeavors, rejoice in our successes, and help us cope with difficulties. Their love is the light that will always illuminate our path, wherever we may be. Treasure the bright memories in your heart. Trust your intuition and remember, true love knows no boundaries. It exists beyond time and space, connecting our souls with invisible yet strong threads. Thank you for being with me today. I hope this conversation helped you better understand the amazing moments of connection with loved ones that you experience. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. There are many more interesting topics ahead that we will discuss together. Click the bell to not miss new episodes. And in the comments, you can share your stories about signs from loved ones. Perhaps your experience will help others believe in the power of this special connection. Until we meet again, take care of yourself and your loved ones.